I recently did a training with your client, and there were 5 doctors, 1 MD. They had the supplement. They all came up with a different supplement. They put a lot of their, um that's right. I was gonna say blood, sweat, and tears, but that would be terrible ingredients. And they needed to be able to tell the world why it was important for people to include this in their, diet and their routine. And yeah, you got to witness the training. I'm just curious what you saw. Was it helpful for them? I hope they followed through.
It was wonderful, Jess. I loved working with you, and like I said, there was a media trainer I worked with for a gazillion years who retired, and I was so happy to meet you. And most of all, it's because of your television background, the fact that you were producing television shows, back in the day when there was live television, and you understood all of that, what the framing, and then how they need to speak in sound bites, and you put them on camera, and you challenge them, and it was fantastic. I know that they got a lot out of it. Somebody learns this once and you have to do it over and over and over again before it really sort of clicks in.
Well, I know that I chatted with at least one of them because everything I do has a year of ongoing post-training help and
They
support.
called you back? I'm so happy to hear that.
I did. I'll tell you who it is when we're not recording.
Nice.
And they said, "Oh, okay, I got a little bit off track." And I said, "Great, let's just do a mock interview. We're right here on Zoom." And they said, "Oh, I didn't know." I said, "I'm just doing it for us, for you to get better." And we did it. And I always say it's real simple. Do more of what works, do less of what doesn't work. Oh, okay, I could do that.
Yeah.
And, doctors, I work with a lot of people in health and healthcare, and doctors are smart people who have advanced degrees. And there's so much I can't even believe that they remember about every, disease and part of the body. And they want the world to know all of that. And you and I have talked about this. And we don't need all of that in an interview. I like to call it the land of everything that you know. And I had a little graphic that I put up where there's either the 3 core message categories, the little thought bubble, or the land of everything you know. And there are golf clubs, and then there's, the people's kids. Oh, let me tell you about my kids. I've had people do that in interviews prior to the media training.
Mm.
So yes, they got a whole lot of practice during, and they get that support after, and that's it. I mean, we want them to follow through, and it was interesting in this particular one, as this is, I guess, we'll share it as a case study, is when we pair them up, I mean, it's part of what I do in the training, they are many times tougher, the clients and doctors in this case, were even tougher on each other to be able to practice those rough off-topic questions, or, just ones that they know the other person doesn't want. Do you remember seeing that in the
I
training?
do, yeah, it's funny. Not surprising, right? Because they're competitive humans.
They're competitive.
Right.
And it was interesting, to throw the other person off, or, tell me more about the spleen. And like, you don't need to know. What you need to know is you need to get your gut health right, because you're going to have acid reflux and you're not going to enjoy food. And like, oh, okay. I mean, that's making it accessible to switch and say those things. So we got to see them have those aha moments,
Mhm.
in person. So now, as a publicist, let's focus even just on health and healthcare. And you work with lots of people, and you actually help people with products even these days, do product placement, so many interesting ways that PR has grown. And bring up your website for a second in case anybody wants to hunt you down
Okay, so we
and
have 2 different
hire
companies.
you.
Brown& and Dutch is a full-service PR company that's been around since 1996. Customized campaigns, bdpr.com. The other is a, consumer product events, www, consumer product events. It's a matchmaking service for products and press, and it's just a
Mm.
truncated, flat fee, affordable version for those who can't afford a PR firm.
Ooh, people who have products, who just need to be out there, they need to make something happen. You'll connect all the dots. I love that.
Yeah.
And they need you. We'll put your contact information under the video or on whatever web page that we have this on here. I'm looking around like it's already happened.
I'm looking at my
So
desk to show you products, but they're all over there.
they're all over there.
Where's
It's
some
okay.
oh,
People
look.
can reach out and, book a call with you and have a chat and find out how you do what you do. And, I mean, I had said that when I got to watch you in action, you're somebody who crosses the T's, dots the I's. You were listening very closely to make sure that these doctors were on track. I mean, we're both on this in this together as the people supporting them. And I mean, they did what they needed to for the media training. But I love that you made sure, remind me and the people listening here, what was the opening line that they needed to have in the interview?
I believe in the power of nutrition, dot, dot, dot. And cardiologist, you talk about your stuff. Gastro, you talk about your stuff.
Exactly. 1MD was the company, and when we're tying it all to nutrition, oh, wait, how is this helping my body? As opposed to I'm taking some vitamin or whatever it is. And they spent a lot of their time and their brain resources to create the formulas that each of them came up with, so that our bodies function the right way. So we needed to make that understandable. I say, wait, you and me, I mean, I was doing the media training. You came up with the messaging beforehand, and we need them to actually say it. And something else you and I have talked about in general, this group was just wonderful. So we would say in general, which is that a lot of times people and doctors to go out and do media interviews, they'll get the first answer right, but then they go rogue.
Yeah.
They start talking, like I said, about the world of everything that they know. Have you been the PR person in the green room or wherever pulling every last hair out? And realize that you have, okay.
So
And
many
right, I
times.
mean,
Yes.
right. So we have to give them the tools to realize that if they don't, whoever our client is, if they don't say what needs to be said, nobody's going to say it for them. Like,
Yeah.
you can get them the placement. I can do the exercise beforehand and give them the frameworks and the systems, but they just have to realize they have to do it. And I'll throw this in since we're talking about doctors and health practitioners. I always like to say, I must have said it to your group, which is in the world of sales, they say this: be like a doctor, examine, diagnose, and prescribe. Imagine if they do an interview and they examine the issue, which is we're not healthy, or we're our body is out of sync and not doing what it should do. They examine, they diagnose, okay, your gut health needs help, or your brain health, you're foggy, here's what you need. But they don't, or I almost said the last part, but they don't prescribe. Can you imagine a doctor that says, wow, that looks terrible. Anyway, I'll see you next time. That would be ridiculous. So it would be ridiculous to do it in an interview, not tell us, which is a long way of me saying the old school way of plugging felt like forcing. This is prescribing. Hey, let me tell you what you need to do. So that's just something that doctors need to do. Any last thoughts before
It's
we go?
brilliant. That's a great way of explaining it to people. But a plug, most professionals of any ilk of any industry feel really uncomfortable making things commercial. And actually, I remember
Right.
in that particular media training that one of them was really having a hard time with it, and she just it was tough for her. She just felt inauthentic, and it's understandable, right? Because they're doctors, right? So anyway, yeah.
And I remember saying, hey, wait, imagine a doctor who didn't prescribe. And I think she had the aha moment of, that's true. That would be a problem. Okay, I need to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
And people, not just doctors, get caught up in, oh, am I trying to sell something? Am I hawking something? Oh, now I'm not sure. And they did all this work to get right up to the finish line. We need to tell people. And when we tell people the benefits of why this is important, it really makes it easy.
Yeah. What you
So,
do, Jess, that is so brilliant is you teach people who are not used to being on camera, first of all, how short an interview is and how to encapsulate ideas into things that people will remember, right? When
yes.
those interviews are so short, and most professionals, when they get in front of a camera, freak out and they just go into their, into their knowledge base and
Yeah.
blabber on and on and on to the point where they lose the whole point. So sound bites, especially on television, are really, really important.
They're those sound bites, which are quotes, basically, even if it's for print. And and thank you so much. That was super sweet of you to say. But I might as well bring this up. What have you noticed as far as podcasts? It's the complete opposite. We want our clients to be ready for everything. So you have the short interviews, okay, you better say the right thing. You got to get in there. It's almost like if you give people enough rope. Anyway, what's your take on what do you say to your clients about podcasts when they have 10 minutes, 30 minutes, could be an hour or more?
They can relax. Well, one thing is for sure is that I insist from all reporters who do any interviews with any of my clients, I want to see what they're going to want to talk to them about in advance. And then I give them my clients, I give them an outline, a very simple outline of 2 or 3 things that they should keep in their mind that will be discussed. And then sometimes, and I've done this many times, I've had like cue cards, like I've been behind the camera saying this, like the things that I need them to say, and I need to make sure that they remember. So yeah, that's how that happens.
I love that. The cue cards. And listen, if they have more time, they can just plan for it. Yes, that takes some pressure off, but you don't want to be boring for the first 15 minutes on the way to an hour. There's plenty of interesting things. As we end this off, I'll just say, I like to tell people, instead of thinking on your feet, you can think on your seat. You can write things down and come up with what you might actually say. And I remember we did with that group. All right. So next, I want to talk more about